Welcome to another episode of Moment of Tiki, coming to you from the Lagoon of Mystery, my home tiki bar here in Central Texas. Tonight we have a special guest with us, Paul Briggs, also known as Tiki Tum on Instagram, a fantastic feed that you need to follow if you are not already. Paul is an animation director who has done an amazing array of work at all levels. He's worked for Disney. He's currently with Netflix. He also designs tiki mugs, is a fantastic artist, and is originally from San Antonio, Texas. Thank you, and welcome to the Lagoon, Paul.
Thank you for inviting me to the Lagoon of Mystery. This is an amazing, amazing bar you have here.
My first question is, how does one get from San Antonio to being a Hollywood animation director?
Yeah.
What is your secret origin?
We moved around a lot when I was young. I lived here for about 8 years, and then we moved to Houston. We moved up to Arkansas. I moved to Florida. I went to school in Kansas City. So I always consider this my home, like coming here. But then I just went this crazy path where I kind of honestly, I kind of just was feeling my way through it. I went to a fine art school and I thought, you know what, I'm going to be a ceramic artist. And I think that's actually one of my first deep-rooted love of ceramics and tiki mugs, honestly, was just that love for ceramics. But fate changed differently for me. I sent a portfolio to Disney Animation, got accepted when I was 20 years old. And I just started, I was doing effects animation, moved into story, became head of story, started directing. So it was just kind of the strange path that I've just been going with. So worked out well.
Well, you have an amazing resume. I mean, just looking at it, you've worked on, practically every Disney movie that's come out in the last 25 years, pretty much. I mean, Lilo and Stitch, the
Princess and the Frog.
Yeah. You even did voice work, and you've done voice work in several of them. You did Two Fingers in Princess and the Frog.
I did, yeah.
You did.
I did Marshmallow and Frozen, and
Marshmallow
Yama, Big Hero 6, and all those things are, honestly, those are all, we do a lot of scratch recording, which is basically before the actors are brought in, we just temporarily just drop stuff in and go with it. And so we use just people in the studio. So a lot of that stuff is just my scratch that just happened to stay in there for the final.
Oh, so you didn't actually audition for the voice.
No,
you just happened to be pressed into service.
Yeah, it was purely temporary reasons, just to look at it, screen it, and go, okay, is this working or not? So, and yeah, those happened to just stay in there. So. But yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is cool. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to hear. I mean, it's weird because then you're asked to do certain things that are really weird. Like, I remember even there was a Frozen short they were doing. At the end of it, they had Marshmallow, the big giant snowman, sing "Let It Go," and I was like, I hate singing, and so I remember being in the recording booth, and I was like, you got to shut the curtain because and it was this horrible, just like, let it go, let it. And I was like, I don't even remember the lyrics to Let It Go. You're going to have to give me like sheet music for it.
Well, you obviously don't have teenage daughters. Otherwise, you would know the lyric. You couldn't get away from it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is another question I have. If you're a film buff or not, you have an idea of what a director does. You know, you're there on set. You've seen all the behind the scenes, whether it's Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese. You know, cameras rolling. They kind of direct the actors and everything. How does an animation director work, because you don't have the animated characters working right there? There's so much lead time and everything involved.
It's a very, very different beast. And that's why, so in animation we have storyboards, and it's like this comic book version of the movie that you look at, because animation is really expensive and you can't just go right into animation and go, no, I didn't like that take, let's redo this and animate it over. You have to do these storyboards, so really quickly you go, okay, this is our blueprint, this is what we're following, for then the animators to come in and really enhance what's on the storyboard, on the blueprint. And with animation, there is very, very little improvisation or spontaneity. It's not like you're on set and you're going, ooh, I like that, let's redo this again. It's all kind of very well planned out. Other than, I will say, when you're in the recording booth, voice actors will do incredible things. Like Josh Gad will come up with incredible improvisation and give you stuff that you go, okay, that has to be in there and that has to be animated. But a lot of times it's very, very meticulously planned out. These projects take 3 to 4 years. You board it, you put it up, you screen it, you go, okay, that doesn't work, that does work, and we can make this funnier or this more emotional, and so you carefully build it. And you have to constantly remind yourself, don't forget the laughs you got, because you work things over and over again. You can go, well, no, this seems soft or flat. It's like, no, it still works. Got a huge laugh. You have to remember those things. So animation is very, very different from live action, but it's just a longer process. But it's really, really rewarding when things really work well. Like when you get those big laughs, or you get those heavy emotional moments that just hit. It's like, wow, that feels good. So it's a tough process, but I love it.
Okay, so you have an illustration background.
Yeah.
How much influence do you have over the final look and aesthetic? Because with Raya the Last Dragon, which he co-directed, there's a lot of Asian influences there, but it has a unique and distinct look and aesthetic to it.
Yeah.
How much is that you? How much is it collaborative? How much does it come from, this melange of different influences?
That's a good question, actually, because I feel like sort of as a director, you have to look at people and you have to tap into their superpower. And they're incredible designers. There was a guy, Shiun Kim and Helen Chen and Paul Felix, who are incredible designers just for animation alone. Like, they're the most talented artists I've ever worked with in my life. And they and I all went together to Southeast Asia. We traveled through Cambodia and Vietnam and Bali and Thailand. We did a ton of research just on specific design elements, and they take those then and they take those and they put them into this fantasy world. And really, it's on them. I'm purely just there to help try and guide. I feel like I'm probably the most worthless person in the room, because I'm like, I just want you to do your thing. And I love working with artists like that. I think it's just like they have this incredible ability to create something, and you go, just, yes, you have all the knowledge, all the power, you just make stuff and make it incredible. And so there are little things that, of course, I'm like, I want very specific ideas that I'm like, I definitely want this. I want this. Like this, as a director, you come in and you go, well, we've designed this character this way in this costume, but let's look at this character is very guarded and they're not going to easily let anybody in. So let's give them a big cloak or a big hat that kind of feels like armor around them. Little things like that creep in that you go, this is more character rather than design. It's character. And so that stuff is really important. But really, honestly, they're such incredible designers. It's amazing to work with these artists.
Cool. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the mark of a smart leader, to be able to get out of the way and let your team do what they do best.
They're the best in the world, so why not? It's like, just do your thing, and just they're so smart. They come to it and they go, this is my process. This is what I was thinking while I'm doing all this. You go, that's great. It's amazing. So yeah, it's fun.
Well, you're no longer with Disney. You are actually with Netflix now. What can you tell us about your current projects? Can you give us any sneak peeks at what we can expect in the coming years?
I'm in a development project, and I am really, really excited about it. I'm excited to be at Netflix, honestly, because they're open to pushing things a little. And I have a deep love for Disney animation, but I'm noticing now that I'm at Netflix, I have this kind of a little bit more room to experiment and push things a little, which I really wanted to do. And so they're allowing me to do that. But also, it feels very like just in my wheelhouse, like a very big, epic adventure film, family friendly, but also pushing things a little bit. So I'm really excited. But then I'm also looking around at other filmmakers that are there too. Mike Rianda is there, who did a movie called Mitchell's vs. the Machines. Chris Williams, who's a good friend of mine, he made Sea Beast. He's making a movie right now. And I'm just excited about like the landscape of projects that are coming from Netflix animation. They're movies I wish I was making, but I definitely want to watch. So I'm like, this is a good place to be. You feel like a really good creative like energy there of talent. So.
You get that whole synergy going.
Yeah. It's like you want to be around. That's why I love Tiki, honestly. It's like you want to be around really, really talented people that are just jamming on creative stuff. Because it's like jazz. You're like, I'm making this over here, you're making that over there, and oh my God, that's cool that you're making that over there. And I mean, even your sculptures you do, I'm always like, God, I wish I was carving. I wish I was carving. Well, you know, it's like, I love it. You feed off that stuff. You feed off what other people are doing. So that's very much like animation and tiki. It's like it's a creative place where people are making things.
Well, you gave me a great segue right there. How did you first get into tiki? What is your tiki origin story?
I've always felt like I've always been like a closet tiki guy, because I'm always like, I was always doing tons of drawings. I was just telling you, I have this love for ceramics. I have a deep love for the material of wood, and tiki mugs all of a sudden were like the perfect combination of that. And so I just started digging into that stuff. And also, one of my favorite artists of all time is Mark Davis, and he had this huge, I was reading this article about him, and there was a photo of him in his house, and he had all these masks behind him from Papua New Guinea. And I was like, those are really cool. Those look like modern art to me. And I started digging into that, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with just I love the idea of escapism. I mean, that's even, when you go to a movie, you want to feel like you've escaped everything around you, and you're totally enveloped in this world that you go, I give myself over, I will watch this movie, and I want to escape to it. Tiki is the same thing. Tiki bars, this home bar is incredible you have here. Laguna Mystery is a total escape where I'm like, I'm not in Texas anymore. Like, this is an incredible place. And I love that about tiki. I love that escapism. I love the material of ceramics and wood, but then I also, again, like, there's so many creative people. So it's a pretty perfect blend nucleus of all of that together.
Well, you've designed several tiki mugs. Obviously, you know, Hugman's Oasis in San Antonio, you designed the skull chalice, which is really cool. And you recently shared the development process of that design on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Check out his Instagram. So, phrase this, you know, how did you get into designing tiki mugs, and how many have you done at this point? Because I know you've posted, shared several that you have in development right now.
Yeah, I constantly am designing them. I've been working with guys over at Lost Temple Traders. They're really, really great to work with. I've designed a couple through them. Now I've done probably 5 or 6, because I have a full-time my animation job, so it's always hard to like find that spare time of like, I'm gonna take time away from these other things to do this. And so it's hard to find that time, but I really, really love it. And so I feel like I've done 5 or 6 mugs. And as I'm going along, I find people that I love to work with too. Again, those guys, Lost Temple Traders, are great. I love working with Dave Cohen, who's a sculptor, is Squid. He just does incredible work. I've also got a 3D modeler I work with who does really incredible sculpts. So you start to find people you pair with well, that you go, okay, there's a certain level of, even with tiki, it's like there's just a certain level of quality and expectation you want to hit every time. You go, I'm really proud of this, and so let's make this. Even with my latest mug with Lost Temple Traders, that was one. They were asking me like, "Oh man, we'd love to do another mug with you. Let's do one." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay. Let me think. I don't know. I'm not feeling anything yet." And then all of a sudden one night I was like, "Oh my God, this would make a cool mug." And I just all of a sudden just jammed out all these drawings, and I emailed those guys and I was like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And this is kind of weird and cool, but also it would have like a swizzle stick that you could light on fire, and you could burn your face when you drink it. But what do you think? And they were like, let's start figuring it out. And I love that. I love like all of a sudden I'll just get really excited about something. It's like, okay, this feels right. Let's do this. So that's I really enjoy that process of just like all of a sudden it hits and you're just like, oh, okay, this feels right. Let's make this. So, and you're just not cranking stuff out. You're going, yeah, this is something I want to have a drink out of. So I look at it that way a lot. I look at it like I want this to be something that I would be proud holding, going, yeah, this is a cool mug. So
it's a lot of fun looking at your concepts that you share online, which brings me back. You recently shared online you had an overseas adventure. You went to Australia, to Sydney, and then you went to Papua New Guinea, which, okay, purist in the crowd, Papua New Guinea is not tiki, but come on.
Yeah.
Okay, Trader Vic's has plenty of Papua New Guinea artifacts and everything. It's tiki enough, okay?
Yeah.
Tell me about your visit to Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, there's a whole, I mean, there is kind of a weird, it is in that kind of Polynesia, it's in Micronesia area, so kind of all falls into that weird kind of Cook Islands, Maori, and Fiji, all that kind of area. But it's Sydney was really cool. There is a great tiki bar there called Jacoby's. If you go to Sydney, go to Jacoby's. It's great.
Shout out to Jacoby's.
It's a really great tiki bar. And then I jumped over to Papua New Guinea and hung out there for a couple of days. And it was really, it's not the safest place to travel. You have to be very careful. You have to have, I had a guide with me the whole time. And it's just you just have to be very careful. I'll just leave it at that. It's like, but there are some really incredible people, super friendly, super nice. One of the weird things they do there is everybody's chewing this betel nut. So they take this palm betel nut and they eat it, and then they mix it with, looks like a green bean, and then some weird powder. It's like this crushed lime powder. And when they eat that together, it turns their mouth bright red. And so then they're spitting that everywhere. So there's just red, looks like blood, just like splatters everywhere. And you're kind of, at first, you're kind of like, whoa. I mean, it's just, you'll see it on the sides of buses and roads everywhere. But everybody there is chewing it. And so there are just crazy things like that there. But then there's also I went to museums, and I went to a couple of just kind of villages just to look at some artwork. And I love that stuff. I feed off of it. It's like modern art to me. And I think the designs are just so beautiful. It's nothing I could ever imagine doing. So when I see that stuff, I'm always just like, man, this is like the purest, to me, form of art. And I love it. I really, really love it. I'd recommend anyone who wants to go to Papua New Guinea, go if you are an art enthusiast of their work. It's incredible.
So what is it about the Sepik River aesthetic that hits a chord with you?
There's something about just in the design work, and I think it comes almost from oddly like my animation background. I think there's a simplicity to it that you see really simple shapes, that it's not overdone. Like Maori, for instance. I love Maori stuff, but it feels like it's very intricate, very detailed.
Extremely so.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, that's cool and great. There's an incredible like simplicity just to what they're doing that just feels just perfect design that I love. Like I'm constantly craving for that in my own work when I'm drawing, of like trying to simplify line work. And even when I'm in figure drawing, I'm constantly trying to go, okay, use less lines and find the simplest form of something. And for some reason, and it's not all, there's a ton of tribes there. They speak 800 different languages in Papua New Guinea. And so different tribes have different styles, but there are a few tribes that their style is just perfect. And I love that. I'm like, man, I wish I could achieve that level of simplicity in my own work.
There's another thing that I've noticed about PNG art that isn't present, that distinguishes it from, Polynesian art, is the use of color. There's a lot more use of color, whereas many Polynesians, obviously the Maori use like the mother of pearl and some jade and everything, but with the PNG work, you have the ochres, you have the white, and you have a more vibrant colors there.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of these things too aren't really necessarily like even all the PNG masks, they don't really wear those masks. It's all for for their homes and their houses. They have these kind of spirit houses. They put them all up, and they just decorate them with these like super bright colors. And even some of the stuff, it's really cool once you start looking at it and you go, wait, this is a really cool, it almost looks like a hanger. And it is, it's a hook. And you go, oh, that's really cool. But then you dig in deeper and it's like, this is purely for them to use. This is what they would actually hang skulls off of. So it's like all the stuff they design and use is for functional purposes, like a headrest or a drum, a kunda. It's like there's this incredible use for all this stuff. So it's all really bright and fun colors. So I love it.
Well, you shared a lot of sketches that you made during there on your Instagram feed, and I just love seeing the art that appeared. I know you did like a series of mermaids several years ago that, for like a week or so, there was a whole bunch of mermaid sketches. They're really clean lines, almost elegant. You did that with Papua New Guinea. You had tons of not skulls, but shields and spirit boards. Tell me about the process of you doing this. Is this just, you doodling, or do you sit there intentionally and create this art that you share on Instagram, or what is the story behind that?
It's an odd mixture of both, honestly. A lot of times I want to just draw something totally different from what I'm doing my day job with animation. It's like, let's find some strange, like, what's my version of a mermaid? How do I capture this? And I think that's, as an artist, you're like, this is what kind of makes this different from everything else you see out there. So I'm always kind of like playing with that. But then there's also another level, which honestly for me is a lot of education of like, well, I'm learning about, I want to learn about all these tribes in Papua New Guinea. I'm going to start drawing what a tribe member, like their custom outfit is when they go to these big kind of like celebrations and dances. What do they wear? And it's just a way for me to go, okay, this is how I'm learning. I remember there's actually a sketchbook John Lennon did where he was learning Japanese and he was drawing basically whatever the word meant. I was like, I had this book when I was little. I remember thinking like, that's such a great way to learn about something. So I'll just start drawing, trying to educate myself so I can remember it. So a lot of it is that. A lot of it is, a lot of education, a lot of just kind of fun, creative stuff. But then a lot of it too is just, I just want to create. I just want to make some cool tiki work. And it's really for me. It's not like I never really intend to sell it. I get a ton of people asking me for prints, and I'm always like, I'll get around to making prints eventually. But really, I'm just like, I have crazy file now of just crazy tiki art. But I'm like, I'm just having fun making work. So I get a lot of pleasure out of that.
Well, I think a lot of people would get pleasure out of being able to buy your prints.
I know.
Because I've had the exact same thought. It's like, look at right there. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm going to send you a print now. After seeing this, I'm like, I'm gonna send you some for a trade for a photograph. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us here tonight, Paul.
What an honor. This is an amazing space.
And
this is really great. Like, I'm really excited to know y'all are here. Even like coming to Texas, I can't wait to visit tiki bars with you and hang out.
I got some more places to show you.
Excellent.
There's a whole world here. It's not the California level of tiki, but we got some gems. We got some gems.
It's all Ohana, and it's like, y'all are my people, so this is good.
All right. So until next time, from Lagoon of Mystery, aloha.
Aloha.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you see, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. If you really like what you've been seeing here at A Moment of Tiki, please leave a comment or maybe even share the video to your feeds. What this does is make it easier for others to find A Moment of Tiki. And if you do that, I will be grateful. Mahalo.
Thanks to your meddling, you ended all our fun. Well, if you ever feel lonely and you haven't got a friend, you feel downhearted and that's your rope in to get yourself together and head for a place I know. It's a little German town with a Spanish name, and once you go there, you never be the same, and it's a whole lot cleaner and safer than Mexico. Well, it's 90 miles from Houston, 120 from San Antonio, and once you hit the city limit, you don't have to be alone. Every traveling salesman that's on the road, every trucker that's scared and overload, knows a boom in a little bird they call a grain. If your ever loving woman won't treat you right, and your nights get longer and your pants get tight, then get yourself moving and get ready for a change. Some fella said money can't find the love, but I know it could be. Speaking of that classic country town they call a dream. Well, it's 90 miles from Houston, 120 from San Antonio, and once you hit the city limits, you don't have to be alone. Every traveling salesman that's on the road, every trucker that's carried an overload, knows a boom in a little bird they call a green. So if you got a little money and you feel uptight, go to LaGrange and they'll treat you right. Just stop at the filling station, give them half a chance. And they'll give you directions to a little retreat with the grade A government inspected meat, and they'll send you to the famous chicken ranch. Well, it's 90 miles from Houston, 120 from San Antonio, and once you hit the city limits, you don't have to be alone. Every traveling salesman that's on the road, every trucker that's scared and overload, knows a boom in a little bird they call a green. Every traveling salesman that's on the road, every trucker that's scared and overload, knows a boom in a little bird they call a green. Thank you.
Honey, that is a little country place out there that people's tried to make it into something that it wasn't. Just a little country horse, what it amounted to.
Yeah.